certain, every job has a required skill set and just, you know, required sort of qualifications. If you're going to be a content creator, you know, there's certain things we are looking for. If you're going to be a HR manager, there's certain things we are looking for. You can't just be picked from wherever you are with no skills, no educational background, nothing, green, and then you come and then your employer now spends their resources to train and upskill you up to the level they need you to get. You know, that's not how it works.
But you must appreciate that at least most of these members of parliament who have been elected come from various backgrounds across the country. You know, some have, you know, different levels of skills and different levels of, you know, professions. So when you have these members of parliament in the House, then you need them to be at par when it comes to some of the most important things they need to know as members of parliament.
I agree. Right? I was just using that analogy so that Kenyans can see why it's important to have a certain basic, you know, criteria for who you pick to go to the House. Because guess what? It's because we've allowed it or opened it up to be open to just anyone that we are actually spending 40 million on their induction. There needs to be a certain, at least base, you know, basic level where you're like, this is the bare minimum that anybody going to the House should know in terms of knowledge, in terms of skill, in terms of, you know, some sort of experience. So that it's not just anybody and anybody who can go there. It's costly to get all of them to the same level. So it starts from who goes into the House. That's where it starts from. But even once they are in the House, and yes, induction, trainings are important. They help to build, you know, the team and also just upskill the people who are doing the job. But the truth is, like Diana said, which employer in say, the private sector would spend 40 million, you know, in 2 weeks to train 300 employees? It doesn't make sense. So why should we the Kenyans, we are the employers. It's just that you don't think about it that way because you're not the one in the office. But you have the power to say, no, enough. This is not what we want anymore. But how do we do it? Kenyans need to be more engaged, more aware of what their rights and responsibilities are as citizens. Otherwise, you watch, you're not happy with what's happening, but you feel unable, you feel helpless to do anything because, I mean, they're there and they're doing it and decisions are being made and you feel like, you know, there's nothing I can do. But the more you are aware, the more you give yourself knowledge on what your rights and responsibilities are as a citizen, the more empowered you will be. So that at some point, we need to stop this callous culture of anything goes. You know, we take MPs for induction, and this is not the first induction they did. Immediately after their swearing in
September, there was an induction.
There was also an induction.
There was one that happened at Safari Park here in Nairobi as well for 1 week.
The first one.
So do you feel like the government is breaching its own austerity measures? Because I believe there were measures that were released by the Treasury CS, and part of it was a directive not to hold meetings and training sessions in hotels, but rather in, you know, boardrooms and government facilities. But that certainly has not happened. Yeah,
I think so. I think we are in a situation where implementation is weak. You know, giving instruction we are very good at that, at saying things. But in terms of follow through and implementation and making sure what was agreed upon or what was said is actually done, there's a gap between the two.
Right. And even last year, Diana, I mean, we sent one of the